competence in marketing and you have competence in other parts. You have competence in third part. So those competences, if you establish linkages between these, those linkages are not known outside, it is only known to your enterprise. Yeah. And through those linkages, you are trying to obtain that higher competitive advantage. Things which they do in more time, more expensive, more things. You are going to, through these linkages, using synergy approach, you are achieving better things. So this becomes your core competence. And based on this core competence, you achieve competitive advantage.
You remember that first story I told you about the hare and tortoise? Isn't it? What the tortoise had was a core competency. It is a personal core competency. Here we are talking about a business core competency. And they are related. I'll tell you what. In the very next point, you will see what I am talking about. Now, you have an organizational capability. Right? An organizational capability is leadership. Leadership is always from individuals. Right? When we say core competency of Apple, right? Who is the person who was responsible for making Apple core competency? It was Steve Jobs. In fact, his vision statement was so inspirational that he said the first Mac which came to the market, right? It says, I mean, think of something which the customer even had not thought of. Right? And the entire staff, even before the first Mac hit the market, they knew that we are creating something wonderful. And everybody was inspired by Steve Jobs' vision. Isn't it? And though, you know, it took years and years of hard work and efforts and all, they all put everything behind it. And what is the result? The iPhone 6 sold for, I mean, more than 1 million phones sold in its 24 hours. Yeah. Right? That is because of all that. So a personal leadership is always personal. And that personal leadership gets converted into organizational leadership. When you talk about Infosys leadership position in the Indian software market, whose leadership was it actually? It was Narayana Murthy's leadership. Getting it? So these are the soft issues. Leadership, learning, and levers.
When you talk about Intel,
yep.
What is the leadership skill there?
Intel leadership skill there.
They are leaders in chips.
They are leaders in chips. And what made them the leader? What has made them the leader?
Their core competency.
Exactly. So the person, if you want to know the chief executive, right?
He has established a firm. He has got the mission.
Agree. Today.
But the core competency of the company that is making the market leader.
Yes. That is the core competency. Today it is the company's core competency which is making it the leader. But when Intel entered into that chip market in the first place, right? It was Charles Knight's vision.
Okay, sir, it was vision.
Yes.
But it was being carried out by an organization.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Where is the argument? Where is the argument?
The organizational capacity.
Who gave the organizational capacity?
Okay, fine. I agree with you that who has given the point to flourish. I can.
Exactly.
But that is a competency of an organization. You can take the example of Simple Dhaba Wala in Mumbai.
Right.
Their best quick response.
Correct.
Yeah, that is the capacity. That is
Of
leaders is providing the canteen facilities in Mumbai.
exactly. Now tell me one thing: is there one single individual involved in it?
No.
There are 10,000, and each one of them,
That is my view.
exactly. That's core competency.
That is my view.
Exactly. So what are you arguing with me? Am I denying that? No, I am not. I am fully endorsing what you say.
I am not arguing with you, but I am just giving an example that is the leadership skill of a personal one.
Exactly. That's the point. That is why in this entire scenario, isn't it? It is, if you look at here, where does the capacity to organization come from?
But actually, there is a transformation takes place in that organization.
Exactly.
The guidance of that leader.
Exactly. So it is the leader and his qualities, isn't it, which makes the organization, and then the organization takes advantage of it subsequently. So it becomes the organizational strength.
That's what I am telling you, sir.
So
Organization is nothing without people.
exactly.
People make
So I 100% agree with you. I don't know why you are confused. It is perfectly all right.
I am clear in my concept.
I like to clarify.
Yeah. I am not confused anywhere, sir. I am clear with my confusion.
Your competency is what? The competence which you have developed and somebody else is not able to copy,
Yeah,
misuse,
You are
or
marketing
do that.
Yeah.
Now, everybody knows how to do marketing. Everybody knows how to do management of HR. How everybody knows how to attain cost leadership. But you develop the linkages in such a fashion that your HR people are helping in marketing in such a fashion which is not known to your competitor. So certain linkages which you develop within this and you develop that synergy so that you have an advantage which is not known, cannot be copied, cannot be imitated by others. That becomes the enterprise, you can say, core competence. And through that you get the competitive advantage. This is the process. This is what I understand.
Yeah, sir, that is plural form. It is core competencies.
Yes.
Not competency. When you talk of a competency, that is the leader's competency. When you talk of competencies, yeah, involves.
It's a combination of many competencies. Exactly. That's what it is. Fine. So that is the architecture of a strategy. Correct? The ultimate result of a business is superior financial performance, right? Which is achieved by core competencies in whatever form or a combination of each of those forms. Those core competencies are created by two factors. One is an external, one is internal. In external factors, we adopt the Porter's 5 models. It is one of the best models that you can have in strategic management. Another is your organizational capability to execute and in internal. And if you are a part of a larger group, it helps in many ways by providing synergy, providing initial capital, providing branding, and providing so on and so forth. Right, and all this, the pillar of all this is the soft skill of the people behind it, in terms of leadership, in terms of learnings, in terms of levers. Correct? There are companies wherein they are one-man shows. For example, your Jack Canfield Incorporated. Jack Canfield, the Chicken Soup for the Soul series of authors, right? Today his business, right, is generating revenues in excess of billions of dollars. Right? So what he has done is that his leadership skills, his motivational skills, right? Obviously Jack Canfield can be there at one place at one time, isn't it? Now if you are there at one place at one time, your earning potential is limited to whatever maximum you can extract from that time, and there is a limit to it, isn't it? Even if you say that Jack Canfield is going to charge $1 million a day, right? What is the maximum he can earn at the end of the year? 365 million or more than that, isn't it? Now what Jack Canfield has done is, he has trained another 50 to be like him by his leadership skills, and those 50 guys are giving training at 50 different places throughout the world. So Jack Canfield is not earning only 1 million now, he is earning 50 million in a day. And that is what, so individual capability is because of the leadership and the learnings, he is transferring it to others, and all of them are, okay, you may say that that one of those 50 may not be as effective as Jack Canfield, because he has got a personal trait, and nobody can replace or replicate a personal trait, isn't it? Every individual is unique, and he or she has got a certain trait, and it is only that person who can be like that. Now you can never get a second Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is Steve Jobs. Once he is gone, he is gone. You can have somebody else, maybe better than Steve Jobs or worse than Steve Jobs, but what he was, his personality was there. So organizational capabilities always are from a personal capability that gets converted, and subsequently the organization takes advantage of it. Now we are shifting from the architecture of strategy to strategic intent. Though most of the things has already been covered by Colonel Sir, we'll just see. Look at the first sentence. Like individuals, organizations also must define what they want to do and why they want to do this. And the moment you say, right, what I want to do and why I want to do it. So what I want to do is the big goal, isn't it? Why I want to do is the intent. How I want to do is the process. Right? So which is the one which needs to be there first? The intent. Isn't it? Now, in strategic management, the end result is referred to as the strategic intent. So strategic intent has a hierarchy, and we are going to talk about that hierarchy pretty soon. And it is defined as strategic intent envisions a desired leadership position, right, and establishes the criterion the organization will use to chart its progress. Where we want to go, how we want to go there. Attributes of strategic intent: first, it gives you a sense of direction. So what happens is, once things get complicated, your focus, right, may shift a bit. If you have your strategic intent in place, right, it always and constantly provides you a sense of direction. Isn't it? What happens? Let's say today you know that kind of the IT field is doing well. Get it? And you advise somebody, भाई IT field बहुत अच्छा कर रहा है, वहाँ पे आपको career बनाना चाहिए. Correct? Next day, something else does well. Correct? If your strategic intent is clear, if let's say I am good at mathematics, I am good at analytics, isn't it? Then probably a career in software is ideal for me. Correct? But if somebody is good at painting, right, and if you want him, because IT field is good, you should go there. Will he ever be able to make a success in that field? No, because he doesn't have the core competency for that field. Isn't it? So strategic intent has to take care of the so always it provides a sense of direction. So whenever you tend to, जैसे आपका बोलते हैं ना कि आपका विश्वास जब डगमा जाता है तो सेंस ऑफ डायरेक्शन आपको प्रोवाइड करता है स्ट्रेटेजिक इंटेंट कि नहीं ये आपको नहीं करना है. Second, a sense of discovery. What is sense of discovery? To get the best out of the people. The hidden talent. There are many organizations, where an employee was hired for a particular position, and then it was realized that this guy has got a skill set which is entirely different, and they can make use of that discovery for organizational learning and change.
I'll give you one example. I was hired by somebody as divisional head for looking after the equipment division, but they offered me finance specialist. Will you become a finance manager? I said, no, I cannot do it. They said, your integrity is so strong, you become a finance manager. I said, I cannot do it because I don't know the language. It happens.
Yes.
I saw it happening with me.
Correct. Now look at the strategic intent of Reliance Industries. Today, Reliance Industries, as all of us are aware, right, is the #1 private company in India, isn't it? How it started and how the strategic intent of Dhirubhai Ambani, as spoken by him to somebody, is discussed over here. It's a brief story. Just go through it. 59 with a capital of 15,000, right, with one table, one chair, and one telephone, Dhirubhai Ambani started his business. Got it? And the name of the company Reliance was there from when he was selling petrol pump in Gulf countries. From that time he had this vision that one day I will have a company and the name will be Reliance. Right? So Reliance Industries started from a 10 feet by 10 feet room with a table, with a chair and a telephone number with an expense of 15,000 rupees. This business grew, and that company was basically trading in nylons, getting it over there and selling it to the manufacturers. In 1966, they created a fabric mill, and the mill was upgraded till 75, and in 75, World Bank rated as one of the best mills that they can have. Afterward, it went for backward integration, and now they are into petrochemical, right, and many other fields. In 70s, look at the strategic intent, where it is coming from. In 1970s, at that point of time, who are the top industrialists of the country? Tatas and Birlas, right? Look at what he says, right? Do you know who these Tatas and Birlas are? Right? We have to get past them one day. Correct? I have an inherent desire to become number one industries of this company. Anybody at that point of time would have laughed at him, isn't it? And many laughed at him. Correct? So this intent of Dhirubhai Ambani become the strategic intent of RIL. Correct? So a individual strategic intent, right, of who these Tatas and Birlas are, one day I am going to surpass them. And today what is the result? They have. RIL always believed if you want to become world-class company, you have to have three things. First, world-class technology. Second, world-class people. And third, best finances. Right. For world-class technology, they always scout for the best technology available at that point of time. For people, what this is, it is a tragedy that we Indians, right, in India, we tend to be average or above average or below average kind of individuals. Unless we are exposed to a carrot and stick approach, we tend not to work. The same Indian in a foreign soil will flourish. And there are n number of examples. Got it? So what it does is that they approach those guys who have established credentials in a particular field, right, and try to get them to the organization. Reliance Telecommunications, right, when they started this telecommunication business, they hired the CEO from the most unexpected company. There was one gentleman in BEL, Bharat Electronics Limited, right, who was at that point of time a general manager of a public sector unit, but his understanding of the wireless communication was tremendous. He had done a lot of research, right, and straight away Anil Ambani made a phone call to him. Mr. Srivastava, yes, this is Anil Ambani calling, right, I would like you to join Reliance Communications and take charge as the CEO of this company. It was a tough decision from Srivastava because public sector are like government jobs, isn't it? At the end of it, you get pension and so much of all those things. And he was at the fag end of his career, maybe another 3-4 years left. He says, package? He said, I'm losing so much if I leave BEL at this point of time. He said, forget about that. Whatever is the present package, just multiply it by 4 and you are going to get that at Reliance Industries. Are you interested? What this guy is going to say? Of course, yes. A month later, this guy was heading CEO. So they say, and many of our repartees, Indian people working abroad, successful, they come back and take charge of Reliance business units. As far as financials are concerned, right, even today, the cost of debt capital is one of the highest in India, isn't it? Europe, interest rate is 3%. Today in India, if you want to approach a bank for a loan, what is the kind of interest they are going to talk about? At least 12 plus for businesses. Individuals, it is 15%, isn't it? America, they are, now they are talking of a zero interest rate concept. Take the money, use your business, jitna liya utna hi de do, interest zarurat hi nahi hai hame. Because industry is slowing down and the Fed wants to gear it up, isn't it? I don't know how many of you are aware, Mukesh Ambani earns in excess of 2,000 crores every year in these interest rate fluctuations. Whatever money they require, though they are sitting on a huge cash reserve, right? Even if you put your money in a fixed deposit in India, how much percentage is going to earn? 8.59%. So what is the harm in taking a loan at 3% from Europe and putting it just in your bank? With no risk at all, you are still enjoying 5% margin. And there are banks which are more than willing to offer loans to Reliance Industries Limited, right? And every year Reliance is earning 1,500 crores of rupees, right, by these differences. So three issues are taken care of. This is, in order to be a world-class company, you have to have world-class technology, you have to have world-class people, and Reliance Industries is the first company in India, right, which acquired money directly from the people by IPO. And whoever had participated in the IPO of Reliance Industries at that point of time, all of them are millionaires now. Dhirubhai Ambani did not create wealth only for himself. He has created wealth for a huge chunk of shareholders, isn't it? One more thing many of you are not aware of is that Reliance Industries has ethically have not paid taxes to the tune of 2 lakh crores to Indian government. It's you may not say ethically, legally you can say. I revise my term. Legally they have stopped paying government, which is due to the government, to the tune of 2 lakh crores of rupees. Okay. Yes, it does. In fact, I'll tell you what. Tata, there's a big difference between Tatas and Ambanis. One is that Tatas will not do anything which is unethical, right? And Dhirubhai or Ambani Group, ethical or unethical, doesn't make a difference. We want to do business. Give you a small story. When this Kasab and his team, right, created havoc in Taj Mahal Hotel, Mumbai, right? The hotel was shut down, right, and it was being refurbished. 2 years later, it went for business again. During that point of time, right, what happened was Tata floated a tender as to the architects, right, architect firms who can take care of the refurbishing of this property, and they received proposals from many companies. They also received proposals from 2 Pakistani companies, right, and the process of selection was going on, and the Pakistanis were putting constant pressure to select them as the agency which is going to refurbish the hotel. And Ratan Tata, they would come and sit in Tata Sons house, and they would not even talk to them. No, forget any appointment, nothing doing. 15 दिन वहाँ पे रोज जाते थे, 2 घंटे, 4 घंटा, 5 घंटा बैठते थे, वापस आते थे. They fed up with this thing. Then they knew another thing. They said कि अगर इनको प्रेशराइज करना है तो आपको पॉलिटिशियंस के थ्रू जाना पड़ेगा, isn't it? So they approached a politician, and one politician called Ratan Tata. Sir, your the refurbishing project is on, and there are a few contractors who has quoted you, isn't it? And why don't you take a look at these things? You know what Ratan Tata's replies are? You can be traitors, not I. And the politician is no ordinary politician. It is one of the cabinet ministers. अपने देश को आप धोखा दे सकते हो, मैं नहीं दे सकता. Isn't it? That is what is the ethics of this guy. And Ambani's ethics, no ethics, forget it. We want the business. Get it? That's all. Now, this is the hierarchy of strategies. I'm sure everybody is aware of it. There's no point, kind of spending much time on it. I'll have to stop here. We are reaching 3 o'clock, right? So whatever is left, we'll be covering it later, right? I'll stop here from here. It's already 3 o'clock. I'm sure all of you are hungry. So am I. Fine. Thank you very much. You have been a wonderful audience. Thank you.